We are with the owlets. They get big every day. They seem to have grown a little bit. There's definitely one that's a little bit more confident than the other. When I was here yesterday, it was the same thing. The one was like up and looking at us, and the other one was down and hidden from view. So they seem to be kind of enjoying themselves a little bit, and they are going to start to get to the point now where those adult feathers are going to start coming through. At the moment, they should be, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're about 4 weeks old, aren't they? 3, 4 weeks old, somewhere there. So they'll grow pretty quickly, these little guys. It's amazing, actually, how fast the chicks are able to move around. Normally, we know that they're definitely 3 weeks because they're standing and walking. So it takes about 3 weeks for them to stand and walk. And then the chicks will actually start moving around outside of just the little nest. So they'll walk up on the banks and things like that when they get to about 6 weeks. And then their wing feathers will start to grow once they get to 6 weeks, and they'll kind of stay in here for a little while longer. And once they get to about 8 weeks, that's when they start actually flapping around and trying to fly. It takes a bit of time for the muscles to get used to it. And they'll then hang for quite some time after that. But the dangerous part for these guys is this little phase where they're down on the ground like this. As we know, the Mulawati is a thoroughfare for a number of predators, and they're quite vulnerable. They're quite vulnerable where they are right now, and so that makes life a little bit tricky. Now, Gregory, you're asking about owls and eyelashes like ground hornbills. No, they don't have eyelashes like ground hornbills. They have feathers on their eyelids. So if you Google an image of an owl adult, you'll notice that there's the little feathers on the eyelids, but not eyelashes like the ground hornbills. The ground hornbills have beautiful eyelashes, actually. I'm not sure I would describe a ground hornbill as beautiful, but they certainly do have nice eyelashes. Like giraffe too. Giraffe have eyelashes. There's a lot of women that are very jealous about a giraffe's eyelashes. But yeah, I was saying these guys are going to be quite vulnerable in this state, the way that they are now. It's not great for them until they can actually start flying. So when we reach that 8-week mark, which would be sort of, I would say, probably less than a month's time, then we're going to start to see them short little flights. And once they can get up into the trees, then they become infinitely safer than where they are right now. If a leopard comes walking down that bank, it's very easy for a leopard to get to those. Same with something like a civet, would be able to get to them. Hyenas. So they're still quite vulnerable. And the bigger they get, while still being nest bound, the more likely they are to be found, because they start to wiggle around a lot more, so movement attracts attention, and as they get bigger, they're a much easier seen object. You also understand that mom's now no longer camouflaging them, because when mom was sitting there, she camouflages them nicely, they don't get seen as easily, whereas now, these big white, grey, fluffy owls that are moving about, it's very, very easy to spot them. When you come around the corner here in the Mulawati, you can see them from far already. So a number of predators would pick them up, and then obviously that endangers them quite a bit. So it's going to be interesting to see if this lot makes it. The last 2 clutches haven't, as far as I remember, because the last one that kind of got somewhere was Sebwig, which was in 2019. And that's owl got to the point where it looked like it was flying around and then left, and they do leave once they get to sort of 6 months. You start to see them kind of getting away from the nest, and these guys can go a long way. They'll end up sometimes distributing a couple 100 kilometers from here. So, and once they're adults, you're never going to know which owl it is. It's impossible to tell from there unless you obviously ring them or something like that. Then you'd be able to know. But yeah, it's going to take a bit of time still. So these two, for them to distribute, would probably need to be, I don't know, February, somewhere there. they would start to fly. So it's a long time from now to February until they're big enough and strong enough to go and find their own territory. All right, well, we'll probably leave them be because they're sitting and just sleeping at this stage. And in the meantime, let's send you across to Ben, who's with some Ellies.